Hi everyone. Welcome to the Ocean Theory video on how to play the board game Evergreen. Evergreen is a Sri Lankan adventure board game designed for kids and adults. Evergreen takes you into an epic journey to save the precious trees and the rich biodiversity of Sri Lanka. So, let's learn how to play Evergreen and start the fun ride. Evergreen is an easy-to-understand board game where all the players work together to grow trees all across Sri Lanka before the evil people destroys the precious forests. Each player moves on the board traveling to each forest and grow trees, while trees are removed from the board due to various reasons. Each tree represents points you have to earn, and when you grow trees enough to achieve 14 points for each forest, that forest type is preserved. A special tree then appears on the map, and you have to take that tree to the conservation center in the place to protect that tree. Once all 4 forest types are preserved and 4 special trees are safely inside the conservation center, you win the game of Evergreen. Are you ready to race against evil and preserve precious Sri Lankan forests? Are you ready for the adventure? Good luck. Now let's understand what you get inside the Evergreen box. First, you get the board. Set the board on a table or the floor. This is the island of Sri Lanka you see. In it, you can see areas of dark green, light green, yellow and blue. These are very special forests in Sri Lanka that are still surviving barely. Let's see what each of these colors represent. Dark green represent dry zone forests. Light green represent tropical wetland forests. Yellow represent tropical highland forests. Blue represent mangrove forests. You do not need to remember them in order to play the game. You will get used to them as you are playing. You can find more details about each of these forests in the rulebook inside the game box. Now take a look at the pawns. These small red, green, white, brown pawns you have represent stuff you can put on the board. This can be trees, characters, buildings, etc. Let's understand what each of the pawns you have represent. Green pawn represent general trees. Red pawns represent high-value trees. White pawns represent characters. Brown pawns represent buildings. All this may sound a bit complicated. Everything will be explained as we keep going understanding the game. Finally, you have the cards. There are 4 types of cards. You can easily distinguish them by the color on their back, respectively green, red, and gold. What are each of these colored cards? Let's see. Green cards, these are the chances cards you have. Red cards, these are the enemy actions. Gold cards, these are the special tree cards. Hero cards, these have a medal drawn on them. Don't worry, each of them will be discussed in detail as we move along. So now that you know what you got inside the Evergreen game box, let's see how you can set up the gameplay. First, place the board on a table or the floor with the Sri Lankan map facing up. In this map, you can see forest types denoted by different colors. One such forest type has 3 forests each. One colored area is a forest. Then place 1 green pawn in each forest. Altogether you should have 12 green pawns on the board placed on each forest by now. These green pawns are your general trees. Each green tree represents 1 point. Then take the cards with the red color on the back. These are the risk cards. Make sure the numbers on them are from 1 to 12 in order, and place these cards on one of the red squares on the board. They should be placed such that the backside of the card is facing up, with number 1 on the top and number 12 on the bottom of the pack. Then take the 4 gold cards and keep them on your side for now. These are your special tree cards. Take the green cards then. These are your chances cards. First, take this card pack and separate the cards with a minus value on the top right corner. Now you have 2 green cards sets, one with the cards with a minus value, and the other set with the rest of the cards. Let's name the minus chance cards set as set A, and the other card set as set B. Take the chance card set B, hold the set with the backside of the cards facing up. Then shuffle the cards well. Then take 4 cards of this set and keep it face down on the discard deck next to the chance card deck. Let's call these 4 cards as card set C. Now you have the ability to select the difficulty level you want to play in the game. By changing the number of cards in set A and set B, you can choose the difficulty level you want to play the game. To play the children level : remove 6 cards from card set A. For the easy level, remove 3 cards from card set A. For the normal level, do not remove any cards. And if you want to play the hard level, remove 3 cards from card set B. Now take both set A and set B and shuffle them both together. Now you have 4 chance cards placed on the discard deck, and another chance card set with all the rest of the chance cards in it. Keep this card pack on the green square which says Chances card deck, with the backside of the cards facing up. Make sure you shuffle this card set very well before placing it on the board. Finally, take the character cards you have got. These are the characters you are going to play in this adventure. If you are playing a single-player game, take whichever character you prefer. If it is a multiplayer game, randomly select a character from the deck of cards. Great! Now every forest in your game board has 1 green tree each. Chances cards, risk cards, and special tree cards are all placed on the board at the respective places. Now you are all set to start this epic fun journey to save trees in Sri Lanka. Let's learn the basic rules of how to play Evergreen. Basic rule. At the start, each player is given 1 character pawn, 1 white color pawn. Each player places the pawn on any of the 4 purple color rounds, marked as ports around the country. These are the ports of Sri Lanka. Each player should choose a separate port, any port, and place the pawn on it. Players take turns performing actions on the board. In your turn, you get to move your character pawn, that is your white pawn. You can move your white pawn on any black color points on the map, or points denoted by letter C. You also can grow trees in your turn. You get to decide in which order to grow trees, and move around in the map during your turn. But keep in mind, you can only perform 3 actions within your turn, and you can only grow maximum of 2 trees within your turn. As an example, let's say in your turn, you move 1 point. That's action 1, and then to another point. That's action 2, and then grow a green tree in this forest. That's the 3rd and final action. You can grow up to 2 green trees anytime you want in any forest. To grow red tree, you need a chance card. Don't worry, I will explain this later. Let's say you want to move 1 point and then grow 2 green trees here. You can do that. Or let's say you are here at the beginning and you want to grow 1 or 2 trees and then move to a different place like this. Or else you can move 1 point to this forest, grow 1 green tree and move to this point. Let's say you want to move to 3 places in your turn without growing trees, you can do that too. All these movements add up to 3 actions, moving and growing trees. As long as you only perform 3 actions and grow only 2 trees, you can do any actions within the board. Great! Just remember you can move between any purple point if your white pawn lands on one of them. Let's say your white pawn comes to this purple position, which is a port of Sri Lanka. You can take your character pawn to any of these 4 purple color ports without taking up an action. Which means, movement between ports are not considered as actions. These 3 actions you performed, either by moving or growing trees, is called the first mandatory task you need to do in your player turn. After doing 3 actions, you need to take 1 risk card, which is this red card. Turn it over and place it on this deck like this. Now read the number and the forest name written on the card you flipped. Remove 1 tree, red or green, from that forest type. If there are no trees in that forest, remove 2 trees from forests of the same type. That's the second mandatory task. That's it. That's what you can do in your turn. Now the next player has to do the same thing. That is, do 3 actions and flip the red card. Easy. So now you know how to play the game. How do you win in the game of Evergreen? Good question. Let's look into that. In the game board, you have 4 forest types, each in different color. To win this game, you need to find a golden tree for each forest type and place it in the conservation center you build. When all 4 golden cards are collected and those 4 trees are safely preserved in the conservation center, you win the game of Evergreen. But what is this conservation center? And how do you get a special golden tree? You can build a conservation center once you grow at least 2 trees in all forest at one time. Or you can sacrifice the hero cards you have earned to build the conservation center. You can get the special tree by growing trees up to 14 points in a forest type. But don't worry about them just yet. We will explain each of them carefully all in good time. Now that you have a basic understanding of how to play Evergreen and you have set up the board, now let's understand what these cards are in detail. You already know about the red color cards. They are called risk cards, and they tell what the enemy is doing, which is cutting down trees. These are the golden cards. There are 4 cards that represent 4 very special trees that belong to each of the 4 forest types. To win this game, you need to collect all 4 of these cards. Now look at these green cards. These are the most important cards in the game. These are called chances cards. You can get a chance card when your pawn is on one of these places with the letter C. When you are on the letter C, you can decide to take a chance card from this deck. Now this chance card is a tree card. If you get a card like this, you are lucky. You get to keep this card and use it whenever you like during the game. This is a positive chance card. It's also a good card to get even though a tree is not in it. You can keep this card also in your hand and use it whenever you want. Let's say you want to use one of your chance cards in your turn. Notice this number O, the card. That is the value of this card. The background circle color represents which forest type you need to go to in order to grow this tree. Great. Now if you are in this dark green forest, you can use this card to grow a red tree in this forest. Place your chance card on this deck so that you can clearly see the number on the card. And then place a red pawn on the forest. Good stuff. Now you have 2 more points added to that forest type. To activate a positive chance card without a tree, read the description written on it carefully. To activate this particular card, the forest you are in should have a red tree already grown on it. Once you are in a forest with a red tree, you can activate this card by placing this card on this deck and making this forest a sanctuary. Great! Now this forest is protected from risk cards. You can exchange your chance card with any other player during your play turn by using one of your actions out of the 3. Simply hand over the card to that player in your turn. And now you only have 2 other actions to perform in your turn. But be careful when you take a chance card. If your chance card has a negative sign like this, then you have received a negative card. Too bad. Negative cards should be activated right at that moment. In this card, it says -2. Which means you need to remove 3 trees, green or red, from the forest type denoted by this color. This happens immediately, whether it's your turn or not. These are called hero cards. There are 3 ways you can receive a hero card. 1. By growing trees of value more than 6 points on a single forest in 1 turn. If you do this, you automatically get a hero card. 2. You can get a hero card by placing a brown color pawn in special locations denoted by brown color on the map. These are research centers in the country. Placing brown pawns in these places means you are building a research center for the betterment of trees and the animal life of the country. By doing this, you become worthy of a hero card. Placing a brown pawn in one of these brown locations is similar to planting a tree in any forest. You have to move to a brown point and place a brown pawn during your 3 mandatory Task 1 actions. Final way to earn a hero card is to journey to the place the special tree is grown. Once 14 points are achieved in a forest type, and placing the tree in the conservation center. By getting this special tree, bringing it to the conservation center, and placing it in the conservation center, you are doing a great service to protect endangered trees. Therefore, you receive a hero card. Don't worry, we will explain how to get the special tree to the conservation center later. Now, let's see what can you do with your hero cards. 1. You can build the conservation center by sacrificing 2 hero cards. Building the conservation center is vital to winning the game. There are 2 methods to build the conservation center. Sacrificing 2 hero cards is one of these 2 methods. We will explain the other method later in this video. In a multiplayer game, 2 hero cards can be collected from 1 player or 2 players to sacrifice to build a conservation center. Once sacrificed, you no longer have that hero card and therefore cannot be used again. 2. 1 hero card can be sacrificed to stop the effect caused by a negative chance card you have received. When you draw a chance card from the chance card pile, if that card is a negative card, by sacrificing a hero card, only if you have a hero card at this moment, you can avoid the disaster of that card, and save the trees from being removed from the board. Once sacrificed, you no longer have that hero card, and therefore cannot be used again. You can sacrifice your hero card only to a negative chance card that you have received. One player cannot sacrifice a hero card for a negative chance card another player has received. 3. Hero cards let you advance to an Evergreen hero. An Evergreen hero has more abilities than a regular character. If you get to be an Evergreen hero, you can take 4 actions in your mandatory task 1 in your turn. Your tree growing ability also increases from 2 trees in 1 turn to 3 trees in 1 turn. Therefore, if you get the status of an Evergreen hero, you can take 4 actions growing up to 3 trees in 1 turn. To be an Evergreen hero, in a single player or 2 player game, the player has to get 3 hero cards, 1 player has to earn the hero cards. In a 3 player or 4 player game, the player has to get 2 hero cards, 1 player has to earn the hero cards. These are called character cards. At the beginning of the game, all the players get a character card. In the description of the character card, you get a special power unique to the character. During the gameplay, you can activate this power only 1 time, similar to a chance card using one of your actions in mandatory task 1. After activation, place the character card in the discard pile deck so that you will not be able to activate the card again. Now see a quick play of Evergreen. With this play, you can easily understand how to play this adventure. First, set up the board like mentioned before. Now place your character pawns in any of these purple marks. Now you are ready to start. Now take turns doing actions on the board. You have to do 3 actions. Move around like this or grow trees, or use chance cards. Then flip a red color risk card over. That is the end of your turn. But when you start playing, for the first 10 turns, no trees will be cut down from the forest mentioned on the risk card. That is because you are in the free zone. Free zone goes on until the turned risk card is number 10. Then start the risk zone, where trees are cut down from the evil. After the 10th red card, collect all the flipped red cards and place it again on the top of this deck. The next players start from the beginning and flip the first red card after playing 3 actions. But this time, a tree is removed from the first forest. You can decide which tree to remove from that forest. If there are no trees in that forest, 2 trees have to be removed from other forests of the same type. Afterwards, the next player takes the turn just like before. When you start the game, your first mission is to somehow build a conservation center. It's a brown color building you need to place in this spot. How do you build a conservation center? Easy. You need to have at least 2 trees in each of the forests on the map, just like this. Remember, you do not have to maintain 2 trees on every forest. Just make sure you grow at least 2 trees in each forest just for 1 time. And as soon as this is done, place a brown pawn on this place to denote the conservation center. After that, you do not need to maintain 2 trees in a forest. There is another way to build a conservation center without growing 2 trees in every forest. Just sacrifice 2 hero cards, if you already have 2. All the players can collect hero cards and sacrifice to build a conservation center. Great! Now that the conservation center is built, you are 1 step closer to winning the game. Now let's grow trees. When you keep playing the game, you can always go to point C and get a chance card. In the free zone, you can get a chance card from the set C here. After the first 10 rounds and you start the risk zone, you can get chance card from this deck. Other than this, there is another way to get chance cards. As soon as all 12 cards are flipped in the risk card set, all players get one chance card each from this chance card deck. You can keep the tree cards and positive cards for later rounds, but have to do what is in the negative card set immediately. After this, place all risk cards back like this and start from the first risk card in the next round. The next step is to win Evergreen is to get a special tree, which is the golden card trees. In order to get the special tree, you need to have 14 points in that particular forest type. Let's say you want to get the special tree for the blue forest type. That is the mangrove forest type. Grow trees enough to get 14 points. Each green tree is worth 1 point. The value of the red tree is marked on the chance card representing that red tree. First, let's say you were able to grow trees up to 14 points in this forest type. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And another 2 from this red tree denoted in this chance card. Another 4 from this red tree denoted by this chance card. That adds up to 14. Well done. Now as soon as you get 14 points, the special tree appears on this spot. Place a red color pawn on this spot. From now on, no tree is cut down from that forest type. Let's say that after this, when you continue playing your turn, a red card with forest number belonging to a blue forest type comes up. Now you do not have to take a pawn from the blue forest. Instead, flip another red risk card like this and take out a pawn from that forest. Now that the special tree has appeared for the blue forest type, it's time to get it and place it in the conservation center. One player has to move to the special tree location and then pick up the special tree in his or her player turn by using the 3 actions. Then again, in that player's 3 actions, that tree has to be taken to conservation center and place it inside it. Picking up the tree and placing the tree both take up actions from your 3 actions in your turn. Well done. Now that you have safely preserved the special tree in the conservation center, you have won that forest type. The player who goes the hero's journey to collect the special tree and place it in the conservation center gets a hero card as a reward. Now let's win all the other 3 forest type to emerge victorious in Evergreen. Let's say you have grown trees up to 14 points in 2 forest types. First in this forest type, and then in this. In this situation, the special tree only appears for 1 forest type only, which is the first forest type out of the 2 that got 14 points. The other forest type will still have its trees cut from risk cards and negative chance cards, until you place the special tree of the first forest type inside the conservation center. Then at this moment, if you have 14 points for the second forest type, the special tree will appear for this forest type also. And that forest type becomes protected from risk cards and negative chance cards. Collect all special trees and place them in the conservation center here. You win the game. So how do you lose the game of Evergreen? Well, there are 2 ways to lose in Evergreen. The first way is When the trees of a forest type are fully cut down, removing all the green or red pawns from that forest type, you lose the game. Note that just having forests empty does not mean you lose. To lose the game, all the forests of one forest type should have no tree on them. The second way is, any 4 forests out of trees mean you lose the game. If the number of forests without trees of any forest type adds up to be 4, then you lose the game of Evergreen. We know that you can win this game and save trees in Sri Lanka for future generations. You can do this. That's it. You know how to play Evergreen. Now enjoy